Stipko Live with you. We're still talking here with our old friend Bronson Pinchot, and during the break, we went into a little bit of the semantics between two terms that, depending on who you ask, they mean entirely different things to one person, or they could mean the same thing to another person. We're talking about these two terms: unscripted television versus reality television, and to many, even actors who aren't really hip to the now segregated nuances between unscripted television and reality television. Why don't you explain the difference, Bronson, between the two? Because reality right now, for a lot of out-of-work actors, has a pretty bitter taste to it versus unscripted television, which a lot of actors are doing right now. So how would you define the two?
It all comes down to one word, which is hypocrisy. What happened early on in reality wasn't a bad word at the beginning, but the fact is that to make it juicy and not really allow things to unfold and percolate as they do in real life, early on in the life and the life arc of reality TV, various people, producers, network executives, would literally crawl out of the walls, just like in those houses where you're all caught together. They're in sealed up rooms, and they would say, "Aaron, why don't you insult Bronson?" They wouldn't necessarily tell both parties, but they would say, "Aaron, why don't you get on Bronson's nerves and let's see what happens?" And then you would just, if you were the kind of person who was interested in that, you would just hunt around until you found something that bothered me and lean on it just to get a reaction.
Right.
What they didn't count on was that viewers are not stupid. I have never, ever understood why people underestimate viewers. Everybody can tell when something's trumped up. I mean, so at a certain point, reality television had zero reality. It was always, well, let's get the guys with the buff bodies to accidentally, on purpose, take their shirts off. Let's take the girls who look like sluts to have big fights where they try and claw each other's eyes out.
Right.
Let's have the sexiest people go behind the bush where you can't see them and sound like they're screwing. And reality became a useless word because reality didn't mean reality anymore.
Right.
It's like a hard roll. You ever get a sandwich in a deli on a hard roll?
Yeah,
it's not hard.
I know. It's not hard. Hey, bring your phone back to where you were, though. Bronson, bring your phone back to where you were because you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay, how about now?
That's good. No, okay, you basically just described 90% of the reality television shows back in the beginning. Now, things have obviously changed now, but there's still a touch of that whole sort of prefabricated, dumbed down television that's making it tough for a certain segment.
It really becomes a personal. You have to police it yourself. So, with the least elegant of segues, I am doing an unscripted show for the Do It Yourself Network, which is also going to show on HGTV, House and Garden TV, which are both owned by the Scripps Network, who also has travel and some other shows, food, I think. And they got interested in what I've been doing for years and years, which is I have a group of houses from the 1830s, all in a clump in a little village in northeastern Pennsylvania, which time kind of passed by. And I bought the big house, which has Greek columns and looks like a smaller version of the White House, years ago, and over time, people wanted to get out of their houses that were kind of falling down, that were near me, and they sold them to me, and I fixed them up. So I've got this little group of houses, and I work on them in a certain way, which is that I restore them. Anything you don't see is new: lumber, plumbing, wiring. Right. But the stuff you do see is all old from other old homes or barns or something, like the floors.
Just so I understand, so these are homes that you either already owned or that you went out, you found a bit of a rundown or a fixer-upper, if you will, and you're restoring it back to its original intended state, or what's the plan?
Well, I'm restoring it back to what would have been its original appearance, but the function is new. So, for instance, I'm sitting in my kitchen right now, which appears to be an 1830s sort of keeping room where you would sit in front of the fire, and there's old crusty cupboards with rusty hinges. But if you touch the crusty cupboards with rusty hinges, there's some really good hinges way underneath that you can't see that work really well, and they spring open, and there's a perfectly brand new refrigerator.
Right.
There's a microwave, and there's a whatever they call it,
convection oven.
Oven is this.
Yeah,
convection oven. Everything's there, but it's all behind hidden panels and fake walls and stuff. So it appears to be an untouched 1840s rural room, but it's perfectly state-of-the-art kitchen where I can entertain friends. And it's just a style that I kind of developed. And all the boys that work for me are local, and I train them with their basic carpentry skills to do this kind of carpentry, which I call narrative carpentry, because you use worn boards on a certain part of the floor to look like that's where everybody always came in, even though it never had a floor there.
Right.
And you use sagging windows near the gable end of the house, blah, blah, blah. You just make it like that.
Wow.
So all my guys have been with me for years. A lot of them have never even left the town they grew up in until they started to work for me, and are, they're really from the heartland, and we're good friends, and there I am. I like them, and they're my homies.
Right.
They have nothing to do with L.A. or New York,
which is wonderful in itself.
One of them
sometimes.
wears a fishing license on his hat, and the other one won't get in the plane. And they're all local, and they've all worked for me for years. And DIY came and said, can we shoot a pilot in your house? I said, yeah, I'm not going to do one of those shows like, Scott Baio is 40 and doesn't have a wife. We're not going to do any crap like that. You want to show what I do in my house with my guys, that's fun, because it really is my passion. So they came and they did that, and they loved it. And they picked it up last week, and now I've got this unscripted show. Now, I am rigorous about the unscripted. They came to me, we're still laughing about it, but they said, we need a line where you say something like, I love meticulous detail and I have a flair for the dramatic. I said, all right, let me see how I would say that. They said, well, just say that. I said, no. I'm not going to say that because that's some editor's line who lives in Albany.
Right.
I don't want to say that. I just leave me alone for a second and let me figure out how I want to say it. And I ended up saying that I design like I create characters. I try to make the room make sense as if it's a living person. Whatever. I said it in my own words because I really, and once in a while they said, are you tense because the glass globes from 1860 came broken? I said, yeah. They said, do you want to pretend to be on the phone and get mad at the antique dealer? I said, no. Why not?
This is the stuff that everybody just cringes when they hear, though, particularly those on either coast in the business. They go, God, what this, with these quasi-directors force-feeding these lines, everyone just assumes that the audience is just, they're born in the Dark Ages or something. And it's really, I love that yours isn't that, but...
If you get out of the way, really good stuff happens. Because my favorite sidekick here is Mikey. Mikey is about 6'4", 270 pounds of panda bear belly. And one day the producers said to him, we need you to go across the street and get this package. And we need you to change your shirt because you've been wearing that shirt for a bunch of other episodes. So Mikey said, well, I ain't going home. And they said, all right. And I called out from the other room. I said, Mikey, just grab one of my shirts. Well, I've got shirts that range all the way from big baggy shirts, which would fit Mikey, to tiny, skin-tight, lycra muscle shirts from when I was a gym rat. So Mikey, who's just got no ego at all and is just as innocent as the day is long, grabbed one of the skin-tight, lycra, sleeveless muscle shirts from 1992, and I didn't even know because I was busy with another project. I hear all the crew are just dying laughing. Michael comes into the room, squeezed into this thing. You couldn't have asked someone to make him look sillier. And we were laughing, and tears were coming out of our eyes, and he was just stuffed into this ridiculous thing. And his arms just looked like hams. They looked like something from pig roast, and he just was absurd. And we couldn't even stand up. It's all in the pilot. And he went over to the post office looking like teddy bear, someone that's injected with steroids in this stupid lycra muscle shirt that doesn't even fit me anymore.
Tell me, like there was some belly hanging out. There was we had belly button and a little hair there going.
Well, I don't know why. I don't understand physics enough. For some reason, it kind of completely hugged his belly, and there was no belly button. It just was absurd. And the camera's jiggling because we were laughing. And also, Mikey's so innocent that once in a while, when the camera's on him, if he's on, and this is what I love about him, he's on a ladder, and he dropped his camera, and he said to the cameraman, "Could you get that?" I mean, he doesn't have any sense, but we're doing a TV show, so the cameraman just bent down and picked up the camera and picked up the hammer and handed it to him. He has no airs about him.
Right.
So that's the style we've been doing it in, and every once in a while, I became great friends with the director and the line producer, and they say, "We didn't quite catch that. Can you do it again?" I said, "Nope, we're not going to do any acting. If I do acting, I'll do acting, and if I show what happens in my house, then that's it."
Right.
And, sometimes you get Mikey stuffed into my shirt, and sometimes you get Mikey making you pick up a hammer, and sometimes you get whatever you get. So I'm really happy with it because I just saw the pilot.
Right.
And it's really me. It's really me and my guys exactly the way we are. And sometimes you can't see my face because my head's down on my desk because I'm laughing so hard because when we made these double doors to the garden and it's out of 1840s wavy glass. It's really beautiful. And I got so excited that I got this one guy who's really pretty hefty, pretty big guy, about 300 pounds. And I said, "Let's pretend we're running through the fields. We're so happy." And we were jumping up and down, and they filmed it in slow motion.
Like 10 with Bo Derek.
Yeah, and so we just have a really good time, and it's very honest. And I just talk right to the camera, and they said, "Oh, we don't normally do that." But I said, "Well, that's nice, because I do." I'm in my house, and I have been on American TV for 30 years, so I just talk right to the audience.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, okay." I mean, they weren't tense about it. They just said, "We don't do that." I said, "Yeah, but I do."
Right.
And I'm me. So I'm very tickled with it, and they like it a lot. And it's just me in my world, and it's damn good, I have to say, and I'm very tickled with it.
All right.
But I love doing old houses.
Awesome. Listen, Bronson, I got 60 seconds left, so I just want to cover a couple things before we go. Bronson Pinchot, the show is called...
Wait, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead, quickly.
I didn't realize you'd be so good at this.
What's that?
I didn't realize you'd be so good at this.
Oh, well, it's you've got 30 years on TV. I've got about the same on radio. So, and it's funny too because you and I are both we're both 26. So, it's weird how that works, isn't it?
I had no idea you had that background. You're very good thinking on your feet, if I may say so.
Well, thank you. Listen, Bronson, it's the Bronson Pinchot Project. That's the working title, anyways.
It's tentatively called the Bronson Pinchot Project. Last week they were tossing around Bronson Pinchot's Funky Town, which made me almost take too many Vicodin and kill myself.
Yeah.
But it's going to have my name in it somehow. It's going to be on DIY in January.
All right, and it's also the HGTV network and everything else, or they can just...
It's going to show on DIY and HGTV.
Awesome, and you can see Mikey and the 6'4", 270-pound panda bear guy and Bronson Pinchot in these fabulous houses and all the legitimate unscripted television. And we'll talk more about it next time when you get your butt into the studio here on camera. Otherwise, Bronson Pinchot, thank you so much for coming on Stipko Live, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron. It's so fun to talk to you again. So, great.
Thank you, buddy. And we'll see you soon. That's Bronson Pinchot. We went a little long, so whatever we had afterwards is going to have to wait. But thanks to the cast and crew here, and we'll see you next time on Stipko Live.